Dr. Nora Elden had spent 37 years studying how food touches the aging body. Her office smelled faintly of mint tea and linseed oil, a scent that had embedded itself into the curtains and shelves stacked with dietary journals. Patients called her kind. Students called her meticulous. But Nora only cared about what the data whispered over time. The day Mr. Callen walked into her clinic, she didn't expect much beyond the usual. He was 74, former high school principal, neat in manner and mind. He brought a notebook. Every line item was accounted for. Breakfast, 2 boiled eggs. Lunch, egg salad. Dinner, veggie omelet. He smiled as he said it. I keep things simple. He wasn't sick, but he wasn't well. He described a tiredness that felt like walking through wool. His labs were pristine, heart rate steady, weight unchanged. Nora tapped her pen against the desk. What was missing? She circled his meal logs for a week and found one thing consistent. Eggs, dozens of them. Perfect. ... ly portioned, expertly seasoned. And yet, he looked dimmer than his numbers suggested. Could the very food that once signified wholesomeness be quietly dulling his spark? Mistake 1. Over-reliance on eggs as the main protein. Mrs. Kamara, 81, came from a long line of West African cooks. In her younger days, her kitchen was an orchestra of color and scent. But after her husband passed, her meals turned beige and repetitive. Eggs are easy, she told Dr. Elden. They don't talk back. For 3 years, breakfast was scrambled, lunch deviled, dinner boiled over rice. It kept her full, but not vibrant. Her muscle mass declined despite good protein intake. Her grip weakened. Nora knew the issue. Eggs offer protein, yes, but not in the same way beans, lentils, fish, or fermented soy do. Diversity matters. The aging gut absorbs amino acids less efficiently. A single source, no matter how complete, doesn't keep pace with changing bodies. You're feeding your body, Nora told her gently, but you're not teaching it anything new. Later that night, Nora stared at her own grocery list. 5 dozen eggs. Habit, she thought, not nourishment. Later that night, Nora stared at her own grocery list. 5 dozen eggs. Habit, she thought, not nourishment. How many of your meals are built on habit, not hunger? What nourishes is not just what's on the plate, but what's allowed to change. Mistake 2. Ignoring age-related cholesterol sensitivity. Mr. Dev Patel, 77, was disciplined to a fault. He walked 5 kilometers every morning, tracked every macro, and meditated at sunset. His HDL was impressive, but his LDL had crept up year after year. It's genetic. He waved it off with a calm smile. Besides, eggs are clean, natural. I've eaten 3 every morning for 20 years. But age changes everything, especially how the body processes fat. Liver enzymes slow. Arterial elasticity decreases. Even with strong daily habits, dietary cholesterol can quietly build pressure. Subclinical inflammation doesn't show up on a smartwatch. It hides in soft tissue, moves through arteries, and wears the body down in silence. Nora knew this, but Dev insisted. I feel fine. She showed him a chart, no red flags, just a line gently bending upward over the last 5 years. It's not the egg, she said softly. It's the echo it leaves behind. That night, Nora stared at her father's old running shoes. He died at 69. Fit, cheerful, always laughing. One day he was fine, the next gone. Autopsy said, cholesterol embolism. No1 blamed the breakfast, but Nora did now. If this made you pause, like, share, and comment. Someone you love might still think natural means safe. Let's start that conversation. Miss Teresa Lin, 85, had a laugh that lit up rooms. She used to run a calligraphy studio where incense curled through sunlight and soft classical music played in the background. But in recent years, the brightness had dimmed. She complained of bloating, discomfort, and a strange kind of mental fog. Like my head is wrapped in gauze, she once told Dr. Elden. Her meals were simple: toast, eggs, yogurt, nothing upsetting, she'd say. You're playing it safe, she said gently, but safety doesn't always mean support. Aging bodies don't just need food, they need challenge, color, texture, fiber, fermentation, polyphenols. Variety is what teaches the gut to thrive. Without that, even the cleanest meals can dull us from the inside out. That week, Teresa agreed to try purple cabbage, miso soup, and just one slice of mango. Only if I can chop it myself, she said. When Nora visited a month later, the calligraphy table had fresh ink, and Teresa laughed so hard at a joke she forgot the punchline halfway through. She paused. That hasn't happened in a long time, she whispered. Nora remembered a lecture she once gave on the gut-brain axis. Back then, it felt like theory. Now it felt personal. The vagus nerve, that shimmering bidirectional highway, connects gut and brain like a thread through fabric. And Teresa's fabric had frayed. Her dreams had become quiet. Her handwriting shakier. Mornings took longer. Sometimes I forget if I've eaten, she said. So I just have toast again. Nora began prescribing not just foods, but textures. Let's irritate the gut a little, she smiled. Wake it up. She brought her sauerkraut in a mason jar, a handful of sunflower sprouts, and a pinch of sumac. Teresa wrinkled her nose, but tried them all. Over weeks, the changes were small, but steady. Her breath smelled different. Her skin looked less pale. Her words arrived faster. Healing didn't roar. It rustled like bamboo in wind. When Nora left her last visit, Teresa handed her a paper crane. It was folded from an old grocery list, the one that had said, eggs, toast, yogurt. Now it said, purple cabbage, kefir, poetry. Nora smiled. The gut was no longer quiet. It had started to sing. Mistake 4. Believing natural equals always safe. Harold and June, married for 58 years, lived on the edge of a wide green field in a small wooden house they had built themselves. They raised chickens, canned tomatoes, and never once missed a Sunday walk. They believed in nature. They believed in simplicity. And above all, they believed that natural things couldn't harm you. Each morning began with eggs, 6 to 8 between the two of them. Sometimes raw in smoothies, sometimes poached and buttery over toast. June had started bruising easily. Harold, once sharp and mechanical, now struggled to remember the names of familiar tools. But neither linked their subtle decline to the eggs. We trust what we raise, Harold told Nora. These hens are family. Nora didn't argue, but she observed. Raw egg whites, she knew, contained avidin, a protein that binds to biotin and blocks its absorption. Biotin is essential for nerve function, cognitive clarity, and skin health, all things that had begun to shift in June. And while their raw yolks felt rustic, they came with microbial risks. Aging immune systems, unlike younger ones, don't bounce back as easily from hidden infections. Nora explained this gently. No charts, no panic, just warmth and a question. Can nature love you and still ask you to adapt? Later, as she walked through their garden, she noticed a wheelbarrow full of eggshells. She paused. Belief is powerful, she thought, but sometimes it becomes armor too thick to hear new truths. If you know someone who still equates natural with harmless, like, comment, and share this story. It might just open a gentle door. That night, Nora couldn't sleep. She lay in bed thinking about Harold's words, about trust and tradition. She thought of her own grandmother, who swore by goose fat and fennel tea. Not everything old was wrong, but not everything natural was right either. She pulled out an old notebook and began sketching a diagram. On one side, biotin deficiency, cognitive decline, immune risk. On the other, memory, belief, identity. Food wasn't just fuel. It was a story passed from hand to hand, generation to generation. How do you question something your body trusts, but your biology doesn't? The next morning, she returned to their home with turmeric root, dried shiitake mushrooms, and fermented garlic. June looked puzzled. Smells like a forest, she said. I think that's the idea, Nora replied. They brewed soup together, a different kind of alchemy. And for the first time, June didn't bruise that week. As they sipped quietly on the porch, Harold handed Nora a carton of eggs. Still from our hens, he said. But maybe not every day anymore. Nora smiled. Nature had listened. Outcome: what it all leads to. The warning signs weren't dramatic. And no heart attacks. No fainting. No emergency calls in the middle of the night. Just adrift. Energy, memory, mood, all slowly dulling. like a photograph fading on a sunlit windowsill. Mr. Callen, the man who ate eggs with discipline and devotion, collapsed one morning while putting on his socks. The hospital called it a transient ischemic attack, not a full stroke, but enough to scare him, enough to change something. Nora sat beside his bed with his food journal in her lap. She traced the pages like they were a map of patterns, predictability, and quiet erosion. The scans showed no dramatic damage, but his homocysteine was high, methylation markers were off, inflammation indicators whispered what words couldn't. He had done everything right. And yet, Nora stared at the EKG monitor, the soft pulse of the machine syncing with her own unease. Was she so focused on nutrition that she forgot to listen for silence? None of her lectures had prepared her for this. None of her textbooks had a section on ritual fatigue, on meals that numb, on bodies that age not from chaos, but from consistency. She realized then, not every decline is loud. Some come dressed in routine, polished with good intentions, and those might be the hardest to see. Offering final reflection and advice, Dr. Nora Elden no longer prescribes diets. She asks questions. What food makes you feel seen? Which meal reminds you you're alive? She teaches color, not just calories, texture, not just macros. She speaks of chewing slowly, laughing often, listening always. To her students, she says, you don't have to prove your health with numbers. To caregivers, ask your body how it feels, not just what it weighs. And to herself, the healthiest choices for aging hearts are rarely loud. She still eats eggs, poached, sometimes soft-boiled, but never every day. And if you haven't seen our video on how overwalking after 70 can speed up aging, it completes this story from another angle. You'll see how even good habits need limits and how aging speaks in whispers, not alarms. If this story moved something in you, comment, like, and share. Someone out there is still stuck in silent routines.